How's it going? So in here I want to do two things. I want to prove that useState objects, the values inside useState objects are memoized. So the object that's sitting inside useState is memoized. So that's one. And number two, when you change the value inside of the object that is the state, it will register a re-render. Okay, because one of the problems is if you memoize, sometimes you change the value inside the object, but because the object retains the same reference in memory, a re-render does not happen. So that is not the case. React is very smart. So you will see it. Okay. So the first thing is we created an object. Okay. And it has name 1 in it. So what we're gonna do is we're going to use useEffect, and then we're gonna increase count by 1. So what we're doing is every time count is increased, you will notice that the reference in here stays the same. So let's say at the moment the reference is in the memory is like this. When you increase count, this still stays the same. So this will not run infinitely. Okay, so maybe I will demonstrate first where it breaks. Okay, so let's forget about it. Let's just do this. Okay, so right now reference in here, let's say something is like A0AA. Okay? If we put this thing in here, what's going to happen is count is going to get increased. Okay? Component re-renders. So this object, because it's not memoized, is going to change into A1AA. So what happens, this change gets registered because now the reference in the memory has changed, and it's going to re-render the component. Again, because it's a render the component, count is increasing, and because this is not memoized, the cycle repeats. So now this is A2AA. Again, this gets registered, and this is an infinite loop. It becomes an infinite loop. So I'm gonna put count maybe in here so we can see it happening. Okay, get ready to rumble. Alright, so I'm gonna save, and we're gonna have an infinite loop, you see? Okay, we need to remove this thing now. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to... Okay, it stopped. So, what do we notice? If we do this, we use an object from state, you will notice that this value here on every count we render does not change. So this does not trigger an infinite loop because this is already memoized. Alright, so as you can see, we don't have an infinite loop. Okay? So then the proof is if you change value inside of the object, will it trigger re-render? And the answer is yes. Not because the memoization value changed, but, well, it could be actually. For this we need to look at the memory, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying that if the object value inside of the object changes, it will register a change. Alright? So probably reference stays the same, but since the object changed, this will run. So I created a small function where we just change the object from 1 to random number, and you will see that this thing will run every time the object inside changes. So look, you see? Whoopsie. Hold on a sec. Yeah, you see now it's running. Now you have to sometimes, I don't know, rebuild or like reload like this, because sometimes you get stuck, because it's like we're dealing with memory and cache, so reloads is sometimes essential. But you see what I'm saying is that it's running every time the object value inside of the object changes, it registers the change. So the reason why I'm saying that is because the reason why I'm doing this is because it's safe to use useState as an object, because I thought that, alright, sometimes if you put the object, you know, it's not really going to register the change. So I was kind of like, I was doing basically this, you know, stuff like that, and or I was doing stuff like this. This is another way of doing it. This will also guarantee a change, right? It's not doing it again, one sec. Yeah, sometimes you get stuck in this thing. String my object. Oh, my apologies. I'm trolling. Yeah, like this. Because what this does is this converts the object into a primitive, and then primitive will always... Primitive doesn't work with a memoization, like it doesn't work with memory values, it just works with value, so you guarantee a change this way. But this is kind of not necessary, because I already demonstrated that object is going to work, basically, right? So if it's not working, problem is not with React, it's probably problem with the framework. So that's basically fundamentally what I'm saying. Okay, take care, bye bye.